What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Meet Your Maker, because this is the new PlayStation Plus game that people seem to be very confused about. It's also on PC and Xbox, but I decided to test it this morning and see what the heck is even going on. This is a strange base building first person shooter with a lot of online elements, but I want to try and explain why it's actually pretty dang addictive. Hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. So some of you guys may know this, but I'm a very big fan of Mario Maker. I really like the idea of different fans creating gauntlets for each other. That's basically what Meet Your Maker is. As soon as this game starts, there's like a 45-second tutorial that teaches you the buttons, it explains how you gotta grab stuff and escape bases, and then after that, you just get a chance to play. There's a vague story about the fact that you're trying to like save humanity's genetic data, but that never really comes up. The whole point is basically playing through fan-made content. Now, whenever you boot this game up, there's a bunch of predetermined maps that are on a list, sorted by difficulty, which are brutal, dangerous, and normal. Now, at the start, I decided to test a bunch of the maps made by the game developers themselves, and weirdly, I think a lot of these maps are kind of the most boring. The fun stuff is the fan maps. Apparently, they did a big open beta recently, so a bunch of fans have had the toolkit now for a while, and they've made some very interesting different styles of course. Now, on the surface, the way this works in the most simplistic method possible is people either make maps or you play through the maps that people have made. Now, these have all sorts of traps, these have enemies, they have all sorts of interesting puzzles and platforming, and even using your grapple hook to try and traverse weird, twisty mazes. It's a very interesting idea that when it works, it really works well. But the hard part of this is that you only have one life. If you get hit by anything, you're instantly dead. A tiny bit of fire, one spike, one enemy manages to laser beam the tip of your dick. I mean, that's it. Game over, baby. Well, you do get infinite restarts. You have as many attempts as you want to try and beat the base. The extra hard part of this, in my opinion, is that these bases are not built in a typical fashion. It's not just a straight line of traps and chaos. Instead, they are very much big and three-dimensional. Sometimes you're going multiple floors underground or trying to climb pyramids and stuff like that. But the goal is to try and steal this little tiny glowing beacon thing called GenMat, stands for genetic material. And a lot of times, even finding it can be kind of difficult. Some of these maps are surprisingly complex for such a tiny space. It seems like the courses are not really big, like the general empty room they're building it in is not massive, but players have already figured out some pretty interesting ways of making the most of every single bit of space. Now, I have to say, what I kind of enjoy about this game, but I feel like is going to be the toughest learning curve, is kind of figuring out how to conserve your shots. So when you start this game out, you have a crossbow with 2 bullets in it. When you shoot it, you can destroy any trap or any enemy with a single hit, but then you have to retrieve those arrows. And it can become tough when there's a room that has 6 separate traps all on different walls, and you're trying to figure out, okay, I gotta shoot this, grapple hook to that, pick this up, and then shoot the next one. I like that, but at times it does feel a little bit tedious because you have to so carefully tiptoe through these gauntlets and try and figure out every single corner, checking every single ceiling, watching every single piece of floor. It's an interesting idea, but some creators go a bit too far with the concept. I think some people are so obsessed with making their challenge difficult, I have definitely run into some maps that are rated as easy that were a little bit weirdly frustrating. Now, additionally, to go with this, I wish that this game had an actual mode that lets you create stuff right at the start. For some reason, even after playing this game for 3 hours solid, I installed it the second it got posted onto PlayStation Plus, you actually cannot just jump straight into the creation mode. By destroying traps, by killing enemies, you get these special little currencies, and then when you get enough, you buy land. And then once you have that, then you're able to actually construct bases. After 3 hours of experimentation and exploration, I still couldn't even buy the tiniest map. I wonder why the developers did not let people just jump straight into it, or at least check it out. It feels weird that maybe you have to play for 4, 5, or even 6 hours before you can test out the other half of the game, which is the creation aspect. The other part of this is that as much as I like this game, the color palette is very, very boring. The entire thing is based on a rustic post-apocalyptic look. That's neat, but after you run through 6 or 7 gauntlets, or in my case, 20 or 30 gauntlets, after a bit, it definitely starts to feel like you have those very limited Lego sets. You've got just different shades of white and orange. Another aspect of this that does not seem particularly well thought out is that whenever you want to try and upgrade your gear, there's a bunch of different subcategories that consume these special currencies. So you can actually get a crossbow with 6 bullets instead of 2. You can go and buy better guards for your bases so that whenever you start actually constructing stuff, you'll have more tools to the toolkit. But this stuff, again, it definitely feels really, really, really grindy, and I just don't think that's a good move. Like, again, to relate back to my love for Mario Maker, it gives you all the tools, all the maps, all the color palettes, all the ability to make great content. I mean, the only limit is your imagination, so people right at the start are making super bold and innovative content. Whereas here, because there's all these weird gaps, people are going to have to play the game for 6 hours, start to experiment with bases, buy better guards, start to put those in. Like, it just feels like a payback loop that does not feel properly balanced. Even with the fun, it does feel a bit weird at times. There's also one of the strangest things that I encountered is that you can choose to make it spawn more enemies and traps after you grab the gen mat. Once you get the little objective, the glowing football thing, you find it in the base and you pick it up. You have to escape with it. Getting outside, congratulations, you win. You get to be evac'd. But there were certain maps where I picked up the gen mat and immediately got surrounded by like 10 enemies or 6 traps and immediately got killed. Okay, so I guess it almost, I understand it to some degree of like always stay on your toes, but after I spent 4 minutes creeping through a base very slowly, disarming trap after trap, and then suddenly they just make a laser barrier spawn directly on my face and I have to do it again, not exactly exciting when it comes to the gameplay loop. The last thing that I really wish that Meet Your Maker would get is a rating system, an actual way to say, these are the ones that are fun, this is the ones that are great, these are the ones that are actually really, really sparkling and, I don't know, really unique at least. I want to see something that lets me actually see the completion rate, how many people have died on a map. Just labeling something as normal, dangerous, or brutal is not enough signifiers to say, am I going to have a good time? I couldn't find any system for leaving a like. I couldn't find any system that would actually let me say if a map was good, and I played quite a few fan maps. The fan maps themselves are really good. I'm actually impressed that people are already figuring this out so well with just such a limited time with the game over the course of a beta and now the release. But I think this game is going to grow. It's going to get better with time. I mean, with a little bit of tweaking and a lot more of the fans actually making the maps, it's going to be a lot more fun. But first impressions, a bit rough. Just my thoughts though. As a fan of makers and a fan of building and a big fan of shooting, it needs a tiny bit of fleshing out. But if you have PlayStation Plus, install it, give it a shot, check out some random maps. It's an easy, free W. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please, keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.